Naz.
Yes.
So I hear that you want to know a little bit more about me. I'm sure the audience wants to know a little bit about me, and if they didn't catch my interview last week, where Marie and Kim interviewed me about being the food editor, what my experience is.
Yes.
And let's get to it, because it's been an interesting journey, and it's been a fun one of me in the food industry. But what do you want to know?
So one of the common questions is, how do you go about starting your own business, and how did you start getting all your social medias and a bunch of supporters to your company?
Yeah, so I think everybody works a little bit differently, and there's different strategies to go about it. The way that remember when I told you that I'm more of like a creative, I love to be in the kitchen and creating a bunch of stuff.
Yes,
and,
other than more business.
Yeah,
business.
then the bottling and the labeling
Packaging.
and the packaging and the setting out and the social media.
More the customizing and experimenting.
Exactly. Well, what I like to tell people who are getting started is, because I'm a visual person, is create a logo or create something in which you can build off of.
Create trademark.
That comes later, because that's a legal thing that happens along the process, and you can trademark and patent and all of that. But what for me works is to have a visual of what it is that I'm going to be building off of. So for me, it was the logo, and so I went on to some random website, and or I went to Photoshop and I started pulling things, and I was like, all right, I want these colors. I definitely want this name, El Gringo. So it's my business is El Gringo Hot Sauce, and so I wanted this yellow label. I wanted it to be a circle. I wanted it to be classy. I wanted to have a pepper in there, and so that for me allowed me to then work off of. So it was a slow process of creating the hot sauces, or if you're creating anything, you got to take time to figure out what it is that you're doing. So for
how you're going to do it.
And how you're going to do it. So for me, it's food, right? So it takes time to cook in the kitchen, figure out what ingredients go well with what, right? Do I add a little bit of salt? Do I add a little bit of pepper? Okay, and then I bring it to my friend. So I had a friend who went to school at Cordon Bleu, which is a chef school.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big chef school. And so what I did is, because he's a little bit more experienced than me, I didn't go to chef school, and so I would bring my hot sauce to him, and he was like, okay, dang, this is really good. And he's like, how are you cooking the peppers? And I told him, he was like, try this. One thing is like, he's like, try when you put the oil down and you're starting to heat up the pan, put a little salt in there first, so that when you throw the habaneros in, it's not going to sizzle and get everywhere and jump at you. I was like, okay, interesting. And then I had a bunch of different blends, and so I'd bring those blends to him, and figure out what peppers go well with what fruits, and he would tell me, and I would also bring it to friends and family.
What are those combinations and mixtures you could add into your meal?
Right, but you know how we were talking about, you gotta test it with the market, test it with family and friends before you jump head over heels
into
forward.
Publishing, because it could add less trust into the thing. So once it's way better, they might not trust you, and you might get less supporters.
Absolutely, yeah. If you create something that nobody likes, then you you run with it, then it does create distrust, and people are like, well, his last thing was kind of bad,
so I don't think it will be good this time. So something like that.
Right. So I spent a good amount of time perfecting my hot sauces, and then the pandemic hit in March, March of 2020 in the United States, and so I was working at a restaurant. I was up in LA. I was acting. I was working at a restaurant to pay the bills, and the pandemic hit, so I lost my job, and I was like, hey, it's time to get this thing going. So I don't know if that was the right time to get a business
But it's
going,
a really good time having a work-at-home business.
Yes.
Really good time to make music at home, make your own foods, and a bunch of other things.
Yeah. So in business, you always have to pivot. You know, like in basketball, you gotta move and pivot. And,
yes.
Life is gonna throw challenges at you as an entrepreneur, and you're gonna experience that. That challenges are gonna come, or hurdles, right? You just gotta jump over them. So, you know what? You got this. I know we're gonna have to have you back and talk about your business.
Yes.
And I'm excited. I'm glad that you were here with me today. You know what? Do you have any words that you want to say to the audience?
I have one more question, but I'll say to the audience, any supporters and people who want to start a young business like me, just you be you. Don't let anybody tell you can't, and just do you. Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching the show. I'm Liam Watkins, the host of the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio. We will see you next week.